Hey guys, welcome to Fight Philosophy.
This is going to be the first in a series of videos that is going to go over the context and mentality that I believe that everyone needs, whether they're going to be a fighter or a martial artist or whichever. I'm hoping that this series will help some people in certain regards that with their fighting career or just things that other people that I've been dealing with. I'm not really going to be going over moves and or techniques that much because there are plenty of channels like that on YouTube. And there are plenty of coaches out there. I would suggest finding a coach and asking them and learning what they think. I think that's a much more useful thing than learning things on YouTube. I know that's sort of self-defeating what I just said, but the concepts that I'm sharing here I think can help anybody no matter what. And at the end of the day, feel free to watch this and think about it and take it back to your coach and ask them what they think. So this video will be going over attention. And right now we're going to keep it pretty basic and just talk about the minimal attention that you're always going to have when you first come in and just realizing how much attention that you have. Later on, we're going to be talking about attention in different ways, in ways like paying attention to your opponent's attention. What are they looking at? Paying attention to ringmanship and where you're moving, where you can get them to move, how you can get them to move. And all of that is an attention exercise, and there's all sorts of things you can do to work that. But for now, we're just going to keep it pretty basic. Awareness of your own attention and attention management is a critical skill when you're talking about learning martial arts or really learning anything. And most of us know this intuitively. But it's an important thing to constantly be revisiting when you're entering the gym. Are you paying attention to what you're trying to learn, or are you distracted with something in life? Now, sometimes it's impossible. You're going to be distracted with something in life. There's just nothing you can do about it. And I would still suggest going to the gym. I've never regretted going to the gym, just like most of you, I'm sure, haven't either. When you begin learning a martial art, all of your attention is spent on learning the new movements. Your coach is telling you how to do a movement, and you're just focusing on what they're telling you. If you're going with a pretty good coach, they're not giving you all the variables right away. They're giving you the most important things in their mind that will get you to the next step. The reason why coaches do this usually is because they understand you have a finite amount of attention at your disposal. So I'm sure a lot of you had this happen where you throw a punch and your coach comes up and says, "Hey, you dropped your other hand when you threw this punch." So you say to yourself, "Okay, I'm not going to do that again." So you throw the punch again and your hand doesn't drop. So good job. But your hip didn't turn. So one thing gets brought to your attention by your coach that your hand is dropping. So you focus on that. And the other thing, some other thing, falls away from your attention. And not moving your hip is just an example of one of those things. But I'm sure most of you have had something like that happen. And when you reach higher levels, you have to spend a little less attention on how you move and whether or not your hand is going to drop. I always tell people that your defense eventually has a brain of its own. You see a punch coming at you, your hand just moves where it needs to move. You don't look at the punch coming at you and say, "Oh no, that's a hook. Quick, move my hand 2 inches up," or something like that. That's not what happens. Your hand just goes where it needs to go, which means I have to spend way less attention on those things. And that's usually what happens when you get better. Now, the problem with that is sometimes people get a little bit better where they don't have to spend quite as much attention on how they're moving around, and then they forget to revisit that aspect. Now, in all fairness, it is really exciting when the bubble of your attention finally grows past your skin, and you can actually pay attention to some other things other than exactly where your foot is going, so make sure you don't lose balance. So by all means, have fun with it. Go ahead and pay attention to those other things, otherwise it's going to be boring and you're going to hate it. But eventually, every once in a while, revisit. Make sure you're revisiting the most basic movements, so you're not making mistakes as things go along down the line. Because all you're doing is adding variables. The more things you add to your attention, the more variables you're adding, which means maybe you'll have to move a little bit differently than you did when you first started out. So moving a little bit differently is adding some context to all of this, and that is going to be the topic of the next video. So I'm going to end this one right here. If you guys want to see the rest of the series, like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment or question for me. I would love to hear from you guys. I like hearing other people's opinions and perspectives on all of this. But for now, just take care, and I'll see you guys next time.
Stockholm Punch!